I want to welcome you all again to our next session, and we already have covered quite a bit. We are now in our sixth of our 10 total sessions, so it's been quite a journey so far. Circumstances made last one and this one be on Zoom, and as we mentioned before, we hope to go back to in person, and as we'll talk later, perhaps make up for this and getting in person for something more social. But we want to move on, and today we've done something very different in terms of the first part of our session. So empowerment, which is you've all read and done your homework and written up your different answers and ideas, a very, very powerful part of leadership, which you're going to have a chance to delve into, and especially when you have your time with the fellows and the mentors. But today, for the first part, from when we started this program, and we put together a great group of fellows. We're very happy to have you all here and to see your seriousness and to hear some of the feedback of how the program already has been impacting you. We really put together a star team of mentors, which each one on their own really has accomplished a lot in their lives, a middle of accomplishing, a lot more to go. And we're so grateful to have you, our mentors, as mentors, and each group of you students who, fellows, you're very fortunate to have someone really so accomplished. Our mentors come from different backgrounds, or they're involved in different things, but yet they share so many values, and each one is unique in their own way of how they came to where they are and how they're moving forward. So today, for our guest speaker, we decided that we want to be able to give a chance for all of our students to hear from our mentors about their personal leadership journey. And the way we will do it is that we will ask each mentor to give a short few-minute story about a little bit about their story, about their life, and how they developed into a leader, whether it's in business, community, or in other area, career in their career and in life. And then we will pose a few questions. We'll ask them to answer, and then we hope for the fellows the chance to ask questions that are not necessarily about the particular pillar you're learning, but more about some general questions you'd like to hear from our mentors who are here with us. So, in no particular order, we'd like to, I'm just looking at my screen who I see first. We'd like to start with Warren Chisling. Please open up.
I don't know if it's worst or best to go first, but nonetheless, you picked me, so I'm first. Interesting, Rabbi, that you said, where did leadership start? And I was thinking about that, and funny enough, leadership started in the community, but in a professional capacity in the community, because when I was about 30 years old, just under 30 years old, I went to actually work for the Federation as its director of operations, which I had a team, of course, of people working for me. But really, my leadership development, and I never took any, there was no leadership development programs or courses or whatever. Anything of this nature certainly didn't exist, when I went through school. But my leadership development really started as a professional at Federation, in having to lead, or not necessarily lead, I guess, but direct the volunteers who were there, and of course were not paid employees. And so, as is the case very often in organizations, volunteers come and go. Some are more committed than others. Many of them, as soon as the meeting is over, it's on to the next issue, whatever. They could be family or business or anything else, but they leave their community work behind. And my first leadership challenge was really trying to bring these volunteers under my wing, if you will. And there was always a chairman of the group, or president, or whoever it may have been, who was the official leader, but it was the staff's role to really lead the group. And that's where I first developed leadership experience, in having worked, as I said, on the professional side, and since then went on to lead many community organizations in a lay capacity, in a volunteer capacity, throughout the years, over many years. And certainly all of that translated into my business endeavors, where at the peak, I probably had 400 people reporting to me, and had to deal with leading a very significant group of people. So I don't know how long this is supposed to go, and I could probably talk a while longer, but I know you said to try to keep it short, so I'm going to keep it short, and then certainly the questions will come anyways.
Perfect. We'd like to thank you, Warren, and we'd like to ask Dean if you'd like to please share with us a little bit.
Absolutely, my pleasure. So my leadership journey started when I was about the age of all of these students. I wanted to make a difference, and I wanted to inspire others. I volunteered a lot for community projects, and I led school plays, students council, and the grad committee at Herzliya. My Jewish community leadership roles continued in university and grad school, where I led the Jewish students unions and Federation fundraising campaigns. Fast forward to my creation and leadership of a real estate development company, where I have worked very, very hard to inspire my teams to accomplish a lot in the right way, by taking care of customers and taking care of each other. For the last 30 years, since returning home to Montreal, I have passionately served Montreal's Jewish community. In the 90s, I had leadership roles at Federation's Pro Montreal, Jewish Young Adult Division, and the Jewish Chamber of Commerce. I have been a very active board member of Solomon Schechter, TBDJ Synagogue, the Bronfman Jewish Education Center, the Jewish Community Foundation, and one of my passions right now, the Foundation for Genocide Education. I co-chaired Gen J's Promise Grants and Shaping Our Future Grants, the engagement and inclusiveness lever of Federation's Imagine 2020 initiative, and the task force on immigration from France. I served on many, many committees, including Federation's Planning and Allocations Committee and Leadership Development Committee, Jewish Community Foundation's Allocation Committee, and JFC-UIA's Real Estate Committee. So that's more of a national for Canada, the Real Estate Committee that's involved in everything in Israel. More recently, I was Vice President of Federation, and I'm a co-founder and officer of Kehila Montreal and President of Caldwell Residences. And what we do there is we house the vulnerable. So we house vulnerable Jewish families in many buildings. I also fundraise a lot, including for MADA, for OMETS, and for March of the Living. My communal passions, where I can make a difference and where I do make a difference, are focused on developing and managing affordable, good quality, and safe housing for vulnerable Jewish families, sparking excitement, creativity, and innovation at the grassroots of the Jewish community, and embracing diversity and inclusiveness. And finally, leveraging Jewish experiential education, such as the March of the Living, which I really hope all of you go on, to deepen the connections of young people to their Jewish identity. That's it for me.
Wow. It's does it fit on? How many pages does it fit on? It's incredible that you're able to do so much, and thanks for sharing with us. And we will now go to Steve, and you can feel comfortable to share a story to what got you involved in leadership, what brought you into leadership, and if you didn't yet, well, when the questions it can come out. So Steve.
Yeah, I wish I came as prepared as Dean. So I'll just go at it from a different angle. And if you have a lot of background noise, please somebody tell me, and I'll just try to get up. There's a lot of noise here. For me, there are always these three spheres, right, in life. So you have your social, your personal, you have your professional work, and you have community. And in each of the three pillars, you have to manifest leadership. And at one point in your life, you were asked to either be somebody who is going to be a key cog in a machine, or you are going to take the reins and go. And this comes very, very early in life. The easiest way, or the most obvious way where it manifests itself, is among your peers, so with your friends. So very quickly, you're in a group of friends. We always had this very tight-knit group, 6 guys, the same friends for forever, since younger than you are. And when it came time to organizing a trip, or where are we eating, where are we going Saturday night, in the beginning, everybody's looking around, and you have this random thing where every week it's going to be somebody different, and nothing happens. So somebody has to take charge, and it always ended up being me. So very early on in my group of friends, naturally, not that I had skills that were better than the others, I just maybe wanted it more, or had a penchant to seeing things done quicker and more efficient. So that was really on the personal level. Community-wise, in terms of leadership, I've always been involved. When I was probably in my early 20s, I was very involved on campus with Hillel, and at the time it was purely fundraising initiatives. And I very quickly saw myself being one in the group that had the aptitudes to go and ask for more money. And when it came time to organizing events, or I just took charge, and it's always been my nature. I was fortunate enough to have a business partner who's also my uncle. And when I started working, I would see that he would juggle both professional and community almost interchangeably. And I said, hey, that is going to be also what I want to do in terms of showing leadership. So community-wise, I started when I was in my early 20s, being really involved. And then one day, someone I knew at CJ called me and said, hey, why don't you come get involved here? There's a bunch of things. And at the time, my quick reflex was, oh no, this is a big box. There is no way they will let me do anything. It'll be very, very difficult to achieve anything. So I said, you know what, but give everybody a chance. So I said, I'm happy to come here, but the project that you have doesn't really speak to me. What I would like to do, because I see that there's no resources for that, is to help build something for young adults dealing with addiction, whether it be gambling or alcohol or drugs. I didn't feel that there was a resource that could do that. At least at the time, Chabad was starting in that, and today they built a great offering, but there wasn't a lot back then. And what I wanted to accomplish mostly was demystifying that this doesn't happen in our community. Sweep it under the rug, and no, it doesn't happen, and we don't have those problems in our community, God forbid. But in fact, we have the same ratio as the rest of the population. So I set out to do that, and I said, hey, if I take charge, will I be able to make a difference? And that was, for me, the booster that I needed, because I saw that together with three friends, we built this wonderful program, a pilot project, raised $150,000, and then it was rolled into to social services in order to integrate that as part of the offering. And that gave me wings. And today, I'll fast forward. I'm not going to bore you with that, but I've done quite a few positions with CJA. I will be the president of Federation CJA in 2023. So it came really full circle from that first meeting I had like 10, 11 years ago to being able to lead a fantastic organization. On the business side, I had to make a choice. I started as an employee in my early 20s. I worked as such until 2011. And in 2011, I said, hey, either you continue down that path and you're going to make a good living. It's going to be comfortable and you're going to have your salary increases, or you take a chance and you decide to go on your own now. And I decided to do that. I did that in 2011. The first year was obviously rough. My income was down 40 or 50% from what it was the previous year. But I said, you know what? There is no price for freedom and to be able to do what you want when you want. And that took a lot of, for me at the time, it took a big leap of faith. In 2016, my now partner and I said, hey, why don't we just merge back the practices? And we did. And ever since, I've been the one leading the team. So I'm responsible for 6 or 7 employees. And it's always this fine line between empowering them and letting them fly with their own wings, but at the same time, still being present in order to teach, to nurture, to guide. And there is this fine line between not being a micromanager, but actually giving them enough support. So to me, that's my constant battle with leadership is how do you empower? What do you give them in terms of free reins versus controlling everything? I'm going to shut up. I think I went over the time probably.
Thank you very much, Steve. So now we'd like to go to John Pfeiffer. You gotta unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So I have a couple of notes here. Okay. Everyone, it's honestly, it's an honor actually to be able to kind of talk to everyone about, origins and how things start. I like this chapter a lot in empowerment because I think it really intertwines a lot with leadership. So I just like to say that my story really begins with empowerment through adversity. A few months after my bar mitzvah, my father passed away. He was my best friend and a great example of how to live one's life. And then within a few years, I had a major surgery, brain surgery after that. So by the age of 15, I had to relearn how to kind of do almost everything physical. And having been a star athlete, that was an uphill task. My cognitive abilities were actually improved because I was able to kind of think a lot lying on my back and then having to do rehab. So I became a lot more cerebral and I started to become more creative. So my empowerment through creativity was, I would say, the second major point in my life in finding leadership skills. This helped me develop my inner resources a lot. And that's one of the key elements in empowerment chapter that we were reading this week. And it helped me lead. So I got involved in charities, medical charities, political action. I was very involved in that and still am in both medical and political action, and really bringing different communities together and having a strong Jewish identity throughout that journey, because I entered many walks of life through the film industry, through my athletics, through hockey, meeting all kinds of people, all kinds of cultures. And the political work I did really threw me in at a very young age, in my early 20s, to meeting really, some people I had thought were my enemies traditionally as a Jew, and realized that we have much more in common than we have different, which was very empowering in that sense, and allowed me to lead further And when I shared that with friends back home who hadn't been exposed as much as I had to the outside world, that empowered them and allowed them to take those stories to lead more. And that's kind of like the essence of Naches, when you can kind of sit back and allow other people to see other people flourish. Really, so that was big for me. What else? What other points did I mention? Yes, so a few little anecdotes that kind of along the way. One of the things is why I loved goaltending, and that was the pressure, the adversity of the game, and the ability to kind of sometimes be the underdog, be behind in very pressure-packed situations. And I had a Russian goalie coach for 7 summers in training camp. His name was Vladislav Tretiak, and he used to play for the USSR. And he used to tell us to visualize the play before it unfolds. And I also felt that that's a really good anecdote for life, because if you can see how things are going to unfold, then you can anticipate and react better when they do. So, sports really helped me like that. And I would really encourage, all the fellows to challenge themselves and take themselves out of their comfort zones, whether it be in their personal life or in their political beliefs, or in their identity, or in their faith, or in their social groups, or try to reach out to people that you normally wouldn't. You learn, and all of these lessons, especially being out of your comfort zone, really help you find out more about yourself and eventually become a better person and leader and develop skills that can really empower you, because you learn more from others if you're open to it than you'll ever learn from yourself. But when you realize what you've learned, you notice who you are comes out tenfold. So
Beautiful.
that's what I have to say.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing and your personal story, what you overcame.
Pleasure.
Beautiful, beautiful to hear. So now we'll go to David Cacon.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, hello.
So let me just be brief and frank. I think I'll give a different perspective. Although I really admire, organized community work. Sorry, I'm having a birthday party. I have no interest in leadership in terms of community. I have no interest in really organized committees, and a lot of the ways people generally get involved. And again, I really admire it. I just simply have no attention for it. However, very young, I decided to make myself available. I made myself available both financially whenever I could. Obviously, when you're younger, you have limited means. But I made myself available in time also. So I just figured that, there's a lot of leaders out there. And I remember somebody once told me that 99% of success is showing up. So I figured I would show up. I would make myself available to whatever extent I could. And if I was needed, I would be as helpful as I could be. So I'll give you a quick example. I used to go every Thursday to Mata for 2 hours. I had bought and sold a small building in about 15 years ago, and I had some money to give, and I really wanted that money. It wasn't so much money. I give 20% of my income, and at the time I was giving 10, but it was not so much money. But I wanted to make an impact as much as I could. And again, because I'm not inclined to large organizations, close the door, please. I feel like a lot of times there's a lot of friction in terms of donations. So friction in terms of how the money gets spent. Somebody told me, go to Mata. If you give your money to Mata, they're going to use more than you've given them because they're going to get food donated. So I did that. I went. I was very impressed. I said, this is a place I'd like to be. I'm going to be here. And I have skills. I have intelligence. I have energy. If they need me, then let them use me. And so I would go, and very quickly I realized they had no database system. I'm very agile with computers. I've always been. I studied mathematics and computers. I said, you know what? I'm going to build you guys a database enterprise system based on Salesforce. And I went every Thursday for 2, sometimes 3, 4 hours. And we built a tremendous program for them they still use today. And I'll get to the point. First of all, I met some amazing people there. And I was sitting in the office, and the director of the MADA came in and said, our lease was not renewed. And they were looking at each other. What do you mean our lease was not renewed? The lease was not renewed in their space in the Cotonou Plaza. And Walmart wanted in. So the owners took advantage of that lapse and basically kicked them out. And they were really in a panic. This was their home. So the rabbi looked at me and says, David, you're a smart guy. Can you help us? I said, okay, I'll do the best I can. I mean, there were giants of real estate coming and going, but they decided that I was the right guy to help them. Whoever's the patience to spend a half an hour with me, I'll tell you the story one day, the miraculous events that happened. It was really, I guess, me and Sam Gewertz, we collaborated, and we found a building. It took a year to negotiate it. Miracles happened. And now every time I drive by on the Carry and I see Matt, I point to my girls and I say, that's my building. Again, I'll tell you the story, or you could, call Yossi Drihem. It's an amazing story, full of miracles. But essentially, I believe in leadership by, accident or by proxy. Just be present, be available, give money when you have money to give. And if you don't have money to give time. Even if you have money, give time. Just be on the court. You have to be on the court to play ball, and God will find a way to use you. And so that experience has been repeated many, many, many times in my life. I have a lot of stories I could tell, but essentially I try to make myself available and let God direct where He needs me to be. So that's it. That's my concept of leadership.
Great, David, thanks for sharing. And it's so nice to hear different perspectives and coming from different places. We thank you all. I want to pose a few questions. I want to take 30 seconds or 60 seconds to answer. Number one, what is your proudest moment as a leader? What is the proudest moment as a leader, whether it's in your business, whether it was in a group, a communal organization you were involved? What was your proudest moment as a leader? You can just share with us.
Well, my mic is on, so I'll just go in. I really have to say it's the purchase of the Mata building, and in fact we bought it from the Armstrong company, and when it came time to name my company, I named it Armstrong, and I thought to myself, what is my proudest moment? It was that I still wanted to have a Jewish theme to my company, so I figured Armstrong is the Yad HaChazaka, God's strong hand that took us out of Egypt. But really, my proudest moment was stepping up and helping Mata find a permanent home and helping them negotiate what was a very difficult purchase.
Incredible. Who wants to go next? Speak up. Who is next from the mentors?
So I can go. It's Dean. It's certainly one of my proudest moments, along the same lines as what David just talked about, was the day that the tenants started moving into the Kihila building in Côte Saint-Luc. So housing 68 families that have really had a terrible, terrible time, and this has really changed their lives. So it was one of those goosebump moments, which I will never, ever forget.
Beautiful. Next, who wants to take this?
For me, it's gonna sound sappy, but where I'm the most connected in terms of leadership is when it's a random Tuesday afternoon and my friend Dean asks me to go do boxes for MADA, or I deliver baskets for CSUQ, when there's nobody you're not doing it. There's nobody's giving you credit for it. You're just walking with your box. You're going, and you feel so privileged that you're in a situation where you can actually be giving something instead of receiving it. And that to me shows that whatever I get involved is not really for other reasons than really connecting and doing good. So that is my moment, and I'm thankful that I'm able to live that very often.
Beautiful, beautiful. Warren, John, you want to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, go, John.
I think my proudest leadership moment, probably, and it still continues, is whenever I'm involved in a project or something creative that obviously involves a message. I always, I never, when my input is asked, or when I'm giving input, I never cower from shining some Yiddishkeit, some Jewish light into the message, be it a script, be it a concept, be it something, because what you notice in the media, but also beyond, and in literature and in scripts, is some things are not so direct, and you may read something and it can really bring you down and put you in a different state of mind. And I'm very fascinated by the mind and by our psychology and our mental health. It's very important to me, and I do charity work in that area. So I think our neshama and our Jewish spirit, but also positive messages, are very, very important to disseminate around the world, especially now. So I'm very proud that I was able to have the courage to build up my confidence to stand up in a few situations where they could have really gone the other way.
Incredible, beautiful. Warren,
So
you opened last time. You'll close this question.
Close. So interestingly, my probably proudest leadership moments come in the times that were hardest, perhaps, for the people that I was leading. After we sold our business, the company we sold to made several decisions, of course, as larger companies tend to. They want to streamline, and so on two different occasions, the first time I had to tell a group of about 250 people that they were losing their jobs, and we were moving our facilities or production offshore. And when you stand up and you have to deal with that kind of a situation, and these were, people that had worked for us for as long as 40 years, and yet, I was shaking before I had to do it, of course, but after having made the announcement and having people come up to me and hug me and say thank you for all you've done for us all these years, was probably the proudest thing, because it was such negativism and I felt so uncomfortable doing it, but yet these employees were so eternally grateful for everything that we had done for them until that point. And I won't forget it.
That's powerful. Thanks for sharing. Let me ask you a personal question. As a leader, whether in business or in the community or in other areas, do you have unusually high expectations of yourself, or you just say, listen, I'm a human being, I do the best, and that's all?
I guess my mic is on, so maybe I'll start. I think I have extremely high expectations of myself. I don't think, obviously 4 or 5 others of us are going to speak at the same time, but I don't think that you can be a truly effective leader if you don't feel very confident in your own abilities. I think it's something that's learned. I don't think it necessarily is something you're perhaps born with, but I think that in order to lead, you ultimately have to have very, very high confidence in your own abilities. Doesn't mean you don't make mistakes, but you make a mistake and you move forward. And yeah.
Beautiful, thanks. Who wants to do next?
So I can
I'll go
take.
next. Oh, sorry, Dean, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. So I feel at all times, and perhaps it's a personality thing, this sort of heavy weight. And in a lot of ways, it's a very positive heavy weight, but this enormous responsibility to my employees, to my customers, to my family, to my my community, and I feel it all day long, every day. And I think that that's really what drives me. Feeling like I can make a difference and I must make a difference. It's my time, it's my responsibility, and I agree with Warren that it's if you don't sort of have that sense that you can deliver as well, then you can't really be a true leader. But I think it's that overhang of responsibility that drives me.
Beautiful. Thank you. Who was next?
I'll go next. I have to say, when you asked the question, the answer came to my mind right away because I feel it, as Dean said, constantly. I think once you've involved yourself in a few meaningful community activities, whatever it may be, it touches you in a way that you recognize the difference you can make. That being said, I really approach every situation that I get involved in with both extreme lack of confidence, but yet the confidence of knowing that if I was chosen to do this, then it must be because I'm the most I'm the best person for the job, and therefore I have to give it 1,000%. But yet I really balance between the two. I feel very, you're looking at me, but if it happens to be that I was chosen, then somebody knows better, and I'll do what I have to do.
That's great. Thank you. Wow.
So,
Steve, John,
yeah, thank you. I would say that I always feel like I could do more. I have very high expectations of myself. And at times, I think a fault is I can be too tough on myself, in fact. But I think the confidence is there, and I would agree with Warren and Dean, not so much with Dave on this one, but the confidence is there. But I think part of that confidence is the expectations that you have for yourself. And I think that weight that Dean is talking about, it's like a pressure, and that pressure drives people. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but I think it needs to be managed.
beautiful.
So I would agree.
Thank you, Steve.
I actually agree with David. It's very interesting. Very often you look around and you're like, okay, me really, but I'm young and I'm this. And then if somebody has decided or has asked you, trust me, they thought about it. Nobody wants to look stupid. So if they asked you, it's not. There's a reason for that. But definitely that it's impossible to lead well if you don't hold yourself to the highest of standards. It's so easy to say, okay, you know what, tonight, this 5:30 to 7:30 after a long day of work, and then I'm just gonna say that I'm sick today. The temptation is always there, and you have to hold yourself to a higher standard and say, no, the average person may decide that they can skip on that one, but it's not for me, and that's not how I live my life. And in order to make a meaningful change, I have to do things that are sometimes uncomfortable. You have no choice.
Beautiful. Wow, that's very, very beautiful. I'm so touched and hearing the different perspectives. So I want to take on what David and Steve mentioned, that you're not necessarily sure, but when you're chosen. So let me ask all of you a question. Have you ever doubted your ability to lead? Meaning, we're all of a sudden you're the CEO of a company, you're running a company, you're leader of a campaign or of an organization, and all of a sudden you're meeting challenges, and you question yourself, am I even able to lead? I mean, to do it. Like, has that ever happened? And how did you overcome? So we heard a little Stephen David said, other people believe in you, but how did you overcome? Like, is there any doubt there, or once you're there, you're just winging it all the time?
That happened to me today. And that actually happened to me this afternoon. And the way that I led was by trusting, thanks to this chapter, by the way, but it also is very important to trust that I'm working with someone who is intelligent, and that person was chosen because they were intelligent and they know that area better than me. So I entrusted them with their ability to take this on, and they did a great job. So yes.
Okay. So does this happen once or often? Who wants to answer next?
I guess I can take a shot at it. So of course it happens. We are always mired in some degree of self-doubt. I would say that COVID challenges were a big reminder that that it's really challenging out there, and really the way through it is step by step. I mean, it's the little victories, it's the little challenges that we overcome that collectively result in a positive outcome and a turnaround. And you know, like John said, it's truly believing and supporting those that work with you and for you, and really empowering them, of course, and believing that they're going to help you get to the finish line. And again, it's these small finish lines and sort of step by step, you know, plugging through. But yes, we are as leaders absolutely with self-doubt. You know, we're entirely human, and it's very challenging out there.
Beautiful. Who's next?
I want to jump in and sorry.
Yeah, good.
I just want to jump in. I'm not going to repeat what the other financiers that were given. It's obvious that there is, if you don't have any self-doubt, you're out of touch. But I think humility comes with a certain asterisk. You have to be humble in the sense that if other people, somebody once defined humility to me, and they said, humility is knowing that had someone else been given the opportunity that you've been given, and the talent and the upbringing and so on, they would have done more than you did. However, humility doesn't mean being a shmata. You have to, like I said, when you're given a role and you've been elected, not necessarily by a person. Sometimes, you're just thrown into a situation. You have to have confidence that Hashem put you there because you are the only person that can do what needs to be done. And there's no place for misplaced humility, in the sense that you can't shy away from the task. You may not have confidence in yourself, but you have to move forward. You have to take the task and you have to accomplish it to the best of your abilities. And you have to put all self-doubt aside, even though it might be very, very, it might be very real and present.
Beautiful.
So sometimes the challenge also goes beyond self-doubt. It's just a question of time. And you question whether or not that commitment, you will still be able to fit all of your other obligations while taking this on. And thank God these things happen in a weird way, where the busier you are, the more productive you are, and the better you do in what you feel you would be sacrificing, whether it's personal or business. Okay, if I do this, I won't be there with my clients, or I won't be able to go out and sell. Things work out for themselves, and you have to have that leap of faith to trust that by taking on something, you're not really sacrificing anything.
Okay, beautiful. Warren, you want to share anything?
Well, I thought, look, five guys ahead of me said it beautifully, so I'm not going to repeat the same thing. I think that the only thing I would say is that the only time it really becomes an issue is if you're not prepared for the task at hand, and that's when the confidence can wane a little bit, or the confidence, the ability to succeed, is if you're just thrown into something and for your own reasons, not because you're thrown into something and you didn't have time, but rather you didn't take the time, and then it can be very challenging and very frustrating as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. We'd love to give a chance for the fellows. You're sitting, each one of you sitting, the group of three with one of our great mentors. There's a chance to ask something that you've heard or some question you may have for our great mentors who are spending really the whole program throughout all the 10 sessions with us. So let's have a chance for a few questions. Yeah, if you have a question, just speak up. Say your name so we know who is asking, and speak up. Do we have silence?
I don't quite understand.
Don't be shy. I'm sorry. Yeah, here, yes.
I don't quite understand what David was trying to say.
Say it again. What David was trying to say about.
Yeah, about the humility.
Okay, so essentially, I would remember reading a maybe this will clarify it. In the Talmud, there was a discussion about something that was required from the Sanhedrin, and they required the most humble man. And one guy raised his hand and said, "I'm the most humble." I mean, there's no contradiction there, because you would say, if you're so humble, how can you say you're the most humble? But being humble doesn't mean negating your qualities or your skills or your capacity to get the job done. Being humble just means balancing the confidence and the lack of confidence, and making sure that, how can I say it, that you recognize that, let me put it this way. A real leader doesn't know he's a leader, in the sense that a real leader doesn't, step everyone aside. I'm the leader. A real leader is sometimes surprised by the fact that he's a leader, but he leads. And essentially, that's what I mean. You can't lose the essence of being humble in having a task that requires you and only you, but you have to merge the two together. And I think if you lack humility and you lack sensitivity, you lack empathy, and you lack the ability to really be a leader. I don't know if that made it more confusing, or just don't be so confident, but be confident at the same time.
Not an easy task, but that's what Judaism demands from us, and success of leadership, like you said. Anyone else? Any directed to one of the mentors? Yes.
I have a question. Like, what are maybe one or two things you guys think that we could do to not to really become leaders at a young age now?
I don't want to hug the mic, but this is my student, so I want to jump in. I want to tell you that really just get out there. Again, 99% of success is showing up. Find a place where you feel you connect and just show up. Somebody will, hand you a basket and say, fill this up, or you have to get onto the field to catch the ball, and find a place where you connect, where you think you can make a difference, and just show up. Don't wait for the leadership to call you, just show up. And I guarantee you that you'll become a leader very quickly.
Beautiful. Anyone else wants to touch upon that?
I just want to take that one step further. I totally agree with that comment. Just step up. It has to be something that you feel, but just go for it. And once you're going for it, that relentless pursuit. So, the next chapter is persistence. I think that in some ways that's going to be the most important part of, executing once you've stepped up. It's not enough to just put your foot in the door and say that you're available to help. It's delivering the goods at that point, and it's really showing others, inspiring others, and really making a difference.
Beautiful. Anyone else wants to add before we go to the next question?
Yeah.
Very beautiful.
I think leadership starts with yourself. Nobody walks around saying I'm a leader. That's right. Dave's right. There's that whole reluctant leadership story from George Washington. That American story. He never wanted to be president. He was the first leader and the best leader to establish life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So those elements are there, but really it's starting with yourself wanting to help. And if you help, and if you do the things that you want to do, then you're going to build a character that allows you to help others, and that ultimately becomes what a leader truly is.
Anyone else wants to add before we go to another question? It's a very great question.
Rob, may I ask something?
Sure.
I would like to know if you create impact in other people and you inspire, even if it's one person, do you think that are you considered as a leader? You are necessary a leader?
I love that question. Absolutely love that question. I think that we have the opportunity and the privilege to make a difference. And that difference can be in one other person's life. It could be in your family's life, in a small community, in a large community, in the entire Jewish community, in the entire world community. But ultimately, if we're making a huge difference in one person's life, we have done something really extraordinary as a leader. And I think that in some ways, some of the things that I'm the most proud of are those times when I inspired just one person to make a difference as well. And that's really the opportunity that we have as a leader, is to create lots of others like yourself.
Beautiful. Anyone else want to answer this question, or then we'll give a chance for another question? Fellows, let's throw out some other questions. There's some great questions, because these are the things you don't discuss on a regular basis. It's not necessarily even part of the curriculum, but these are important things because everyone sitting around here, both the mentors and myself and yourselves growing up and coming into yourself, are regular people. But you become special, not by just being born special, but by creating a path. And these are important things. We all almost start off from the same spot, but where we go is what is in our hands. So these are your opportunities. Any other questions? Don't be shy. No questions.
Adam has a question.
Huh?
Adam Beton has a question. He has his hand up.
I just want to know, like, let's say as a leader, like, you have like, you know, like how everybody has insecurities and all. Like, how do you, like, I'm not saying this in English, like, fail soft. How do you make it so that like your insecurity doesn't show, and that you could show more confidence instead of like hesitation and stuff like that?
Can I make a joke of 2 shots of tequila, or they're too young for even that joke? It goes back to what Dave was saying. If somebody chose you to be in that position, it's very rare that you ascend to a very high-end leadership role by completely fluking and conning your way in. It does happen, but most of the time you're there for a reason. Remember that, and remember how virtuous and how lucky you are to be the one. There's a lot of people that would be looking at you and would love to be in your shoes in order to be the one to deliver that impact, and that should give you the strength you need to be able to deliver the message that you have to do.
Thank you.
I would add to that a leader is never alone. There's always people you can rely on, other expertise. You're going to require other, you know, ideally you bring your expertise to every situation, but no one situation relies on one person or one set of skills. You're going to have people around you, whether it's in that particular situation or people that you've, you know, learned to appreciate along the way, that you could rely on. That gives you strength, and that gives you confidence, and that projects also strength and confidence. And, you know, also a good leader knows how to step aside when he doesn't have the answer and let the person that is more suited to that task take the center stage. So that's something that, you know, build a team, build a network, build a strong not too large, you know, keep it lean, but build a little, you know, group of people like a council that you rely on and that helps you on your way.
Incredible.
Adam,
Thank you.
Adam, I would say dig deep and pull it out, because it's there. And there are times that you may not have the opportunity to build a network and have a council and have so much support. You need to dig deep. You need to pull it out of yourself, because like the rabbi said, we all started the same place, and we have to find what's special about us. And we all know what we go through day in and day out and what we overcome. And nobody has a free ride in this life. So you can pull it out and you can dig deep and you have it in you, even if you feel insecure. And it doesn't matter what people see. What matters is how you feel and what you can bring. And everyone can bring something special. That's for certain.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thank you. One last question. Anyone has a question? One last question.
Yeah. How do you keep the motivation to volunteer?
I'm sorry,
regularly?
but pull your camera down a little. We can't see you and it's hard to understand the question. Yes.
Hi. How do you keep the motivation to volunteer regularly?
You heard the question? How do we
Yeah,
keep ourselves
no,
motivated?
it's a fantastic one. You mind if I start fielding that one? To me, the motivation always remains just because of what drives me in the first place. And what drives me in the first place is this realization of how lucky I am. Just being born on the right side of the planet, having the right education, being doing something professionally that fulfills me and that gives me the economic means to be able to spend time not at the office, and all of that comes with a tremendous amount of gratitude and of feelings that you have a debt to those that are a little less lucky or a little less fortunate. And when you know that a portion of what you have doesn't really belong to you, it belongs to others, and it's your duty to give back. So every time I'm a little checked out or tired, I remember how we're in the golden age of humanity, born on the right side of the continent, and with that comes a lot of responsibility.
I'm going to take a sort of a different angle on that. I think of it as, you know, something that you're passionate about is like a positive drug. It just feels so good that it just will make you want to do it more. And I think that I get more satisfaction out of my volunteerism, community leadership, than even those that I'm helping. I just feel so energized by it. It helps me in all parts of my life. And, once you find that thing or those things that make a difference for others, it will make you feel so good that you'll just desperately want to do it more.
Anyone else wants it, Field?
Yeah, I was going to say,
Good one,
I was
yeah.
going to say exactly that, the reward you get from the volunteering or whatever it might be is just, that's what keeps you going back and back and back. It's like a drug. The successes and just the general good feeling is what keeps you going back.
Beautiful. John, you wanted to say one last thing?
I second that, and I third that from Warren and from Dean before. But I would say, Miriam, just find your area. Find your area that you want to help with, and there's people in need. There is so much, and part of what Steve was saying is, we are born in this privileged place, and there is so much need out there. And you'd be surprised, even in this privileged world, outside of kosher quality, every Friday, the same guy telling me Shabbat Shalom, and he doesn't have anything. And, and that's part of my charity too, guys. So, it's not only the federations and it's not only the organizations, but the random things that you encounter every single day of your life. It's just that the federation allows us to organize our ability to help these people en masse. But there are people that fall between the cracks, And whatever you're passionate about, connecting to others or finding your area, go for it and do it, and it will be addictive.
So this conversation can continue on and on. I think it was incredible. The questions that were asked by you guys, by the students, by the fellows, are beautiful. And actually, we look forward, and we're going to talk at the end, to get together once soon, more in a social environment. We can get more flowing conversation and sharing, because it was really, really very powerful. The questions, the answers, and all the things that were being shared were really very special. And I just want to finish off one thing before we take a break and Savannah takes over, is that the greatest paradigm of leadership is in the Torah. Follow the life of Moses. If you want to learn everything about leadership, it's really in the life of Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses. Moses had moments of self-doubt. Moses had moments when he felt that he was getting nowhere. Moses had great moments. Moses had moments when there was a point where he didn't know to go right or left, and his decision would make all the difference. Incredible, what we're learning in the curriculum, and we go back to the Torah. There's so much out there to help us, shape us as a leader. But most important, like everyone said, is you got to find within your voice. Every one of us is unique. None of us are going to be replicas of the other. And we're all set to be great leaders. And we're so happy to have you in the program to help you along the path to find that inner voice and your inner strength and the tools to be able to make that happen. So Silvana, take over.
Yes, so we are going to have, thank you everybody. It was amazing to hear your stories, and huge for me, for everybody, I'm sure. So we are going to take 5 minutes of break, and then we are going to come back in the breakout rooms that are almost done. And then we are going to work till 7:25, okay, with the mentors. And yeah, 5 minutes, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.